Hey guys, welcome back to a new video, and in this video I'm gonna show you how you can perform navigation with the help of ViewModel without using any kind of UI events. So let's get started with our project. Now in this project, by the way, you can get this project from my GitHub repository link present in the description box, or you can simply add this dependency. Now here I'm using few dependency regarding to our navigation. Then we have serialization dependency. On the top we have Dagger Hill dependency and also its compiler. On the top, we have plugin for our serialization, Dagger, KPT annotation processor, and in order to use parcelize annotation, we have to use this Kotlin parcelize in our plugin. Okay, so now it's time to begin with our project. Now in our project, we have three different screens. First screen, second screen, third screen. So corresponding to that, we have to create destinations. So let's do that. So first, I'm gonna create a class, and the class name is destination. It's a sealed class. Now in this sealed class, I'm gonna create first data object, and data object name is first screen. Simply use destination. Okay, so this is our first screen route. Next we have data class, and I'm gonna call this second screen. Now in this, I'm going to pass an argument name. Then we have last screen, which is our third screen. And in this third screen, I'm going to pass an object as an argument. So first let me extend this thing with destination, and on the bottom I'm going to create a data class, and the data class name is employee, that has name as a parameter, member variable, and next we have its age. So if you want to pass employee as an argument, you should make this thing serializable and also parcelable. So use here parcelize annotation with parcelable interface. Okay, now we are good to go. We can simply use our employee in here. Now if you want to use this first screen, second screen, third screen as a destination, you should use here serializable annotation. Similarly for the first screen. Okay, so we are done with our destination. Now I'm going to design all of my screens. So for that we have here few package. First package, then we have second package, and lastly we have our third package. In our first package, I'm gonna create a file, and the file name is first screen. I'm gonna create a composable, and the composable name is first screen. Okay, so in this first screen, I'm going to create a column that has a modifier fill max size. Its vertical arrangement is on the center, and its horizontal alignment is also on the center. Now in this column, I'm gonna create a button. In this button we have on click, so use here a pair of lambda. So what will happen if user click onto this button? So if user click into this button, I'm gonna simply navigate from this screen, first screen to second screen with argument. Now if you're talking about its UI, it's very simple. We are going to say this, go to second screen. Okay, so this is our button, and we are pretty much done. Now corresponding to that, I'm gonna create a view model, and the view model name is first screen view model. This is a file. I'm using my template to create first screen view model. For time being, just leave it. Similarly for the second package, I'm gonna create a file, and the file name is second screen. We have a composable, and the composable name is second screen. Again, I'm gonna create a column in this that has modifier fill max size. Its vertical arrangement is on the center. Similarly, horizontal alignment is also on the center. Now in this column, we have two things. First, we have a text which actually used to show the previous screen argument, which is coming in a form of name, as you can see in its destination over here. Okay, so for time being, just leave it. Just below to it, I'm gonna create spacer. Use modifier height of 12 dp. Let me import this dp. Just below to it, we have again a button. On click event is actually used to perform navigation from this second screen to third screen. And if you're talking about its UI, it's pretty much same text which says go to third screen. Alright, we are done with this basic second screen. Now it's time to create view model corresponding to this. So second screen view model. This is a file. I'm using my template. Second screen view model. For time being, just leave it. Similarly, I'm gonna create my third screen. Third screen composable. Third screen, remove this destination, and in this similarly I'm gonna create a column having modifier fill max size. Its vertical arrangement is on the center and its horizontal alignment is also on the center. Now in this we have two different text because in our third screen we are receiving employee as an argument that has two different things, its name and its age. So let's create first text for the name, then just create few space with the help of spacer. Height would be 12 dp. Let me import this dp. Then we have our age. Again we need space. So modifier height is 12 dp, and below to it I'm gonna create a button on click. So this time we'll simply perform the back navigation, or you can say pop back stack. In its UI, I'm simply using here go to second screen. Alright, so we are pretty much done with our third screen. It's time to create a view model corresponding to this. So third screen view model. I'm using my template. Again, third screen view model. Alright, so yeah, we are pretty much done with our screens and its view model. Now it's time to perform the navigation. So for that, I'm gonna create one interface, and the interface name is navigator. And in this interface, I'm gonna create few functions. So first function is actually used to set nav host controller, and in its argument, in its parameter, I'm gonna pass nav host controller. Now next function is actually used to perform the navigation. So in its navigation, we have to pass route, and route type is any. Okay, next we have to perform pop back stack. So for that I'm going to create one more function naming pop back stack, and lastly we have one function naming clear. So we have typically four different function to perform four different operation. Now it's time to write its implementation. So for that I'm going to create here a navigator impl class. Now this class will simply write the implementation for our navigator. Control I, enter. So in this class, I'm going to create a private variable nav host controller. Type would be nav host controller. Initialize this thing with null. Okay, now it's time to initialize this thing. So in our set nav host controller, I'm using this nav host controller and initialize with our upcoming nav host controller. Alright, now if you want to perform a navigation, you can simply use this nav host controller, use navigate, and simply pass your route. Next we have pop back stack. This nav host controller use here pop back stack. It's easy. And lastly, in the clear I'm gonna remove memory of nav host controller. Okay, so this is our implementation, and now it's time to provide this implementation with the help of tagger hilt. So for that I'm gonna create one more object, and the object name is navigation module. So install this thing in singleton component. This is a module, so use here module. And here I'm going to create a function, and this function is actually used to provide the navigator. A return type of this thing is navigator, return navigator implementation. Okay, and make sure to use here singleton because we are not going to create our navigator instance again and again. And also use here provide annotation. Okay, so now we are able to inject navigator implementation with the help of tagger hilt. Alright, so now it's time to use it. So for that, go to your main activity, and on the top use Android entry point so that our navigator is injectable in our main activity. It's time to perform the injection. So use here inject let init variable navigator. Alright, so it's time to remove this greeting, and in place of greeting we have to use nav host because we want to perform navigation, and the requirement of nav host is nav controller. So let's create that. With the help of remember nav controller, I'm gonna create it and simply pass it in here. Next we have to pass our start destination. Now in our start destination, I'm gonna use destination first screen. Now we can simply use our composable. So I'm using our composable in here. First we have dest.first screen, and in this first screen I'm gonna render my first screen composable. Okay, similarly for the second screen I'm using my second screen composable. For the third screen I'm using one more composable, dest.third screen, and simply render my third screen in it. Okay, now I'm gonna pass a view model in our screens. So first in the first screen view model, and in our first screen view model we are going to perform navigation. So how can we do it? Well, it's very easy now. You simply use your navigator. So inject your navigator and create a function, and the function name is navigate. Use your navigator.navigate function, and in its route you can simply use your dest.second screen. Let me import this dest first. Dest.second screen, and in its argument you can simply pass your name. So in my case I'm simply passing my name, which is Himanshu. Go to your first screen and use it. So when user click to our button, I'm using my view model navigate. Now what it will do, it will simply perform the navigation from first screen to second screen. Okay, so now go back to your main activity and pass your view model. So view model hilt view model. Alright, so now it's time to get those argument in our second screen. So how can we do it? Well, we are going to do that thing in our view model. So for that, first I'm gonna pass my navigator in it. Next, if you want to extract those arguments, you can use here saved state handle. Alright, so now in this I'm gonna create a mutable state flow naming name. Initialize this thing with empty string, and in its init block I'm gonna take the argument. So with the help of save state handle, use here to route and mention the type of your destination, which is dest.second. Let me import this dest first. Okay, now in this we have our name. Simply update your this dot name value. And now it's time to consume this name as a state in our second screen. So let's do that. So go to your second screen. First thing first, you have to pass your second screen view model, and here I'm gonna create a state naming name and start collecting my mutable state flow in a form of state within our second screen. So view model name collect as state, import this thing up and simply use it in here name. Alright, so we are pretty much done with our second screen. Now what will happen if user click into this button? Well, we are going to perform navigation from second screen to third screen. So we will do that in our view model. Now in our view model, I'm gonna create one more function, and the function name is navigate, but this time we have to pass name and age, which is integer. Use your navigator navigate dest.third screen, and in this third screen we have to pass employee object. So employee and requirement of employee is our name and age. Okay, so now it's time to use this navigate function in our second screen. So in our on click, I'm gonna use my view model and navigate, pass name. So name is same, which is Himanshu, and my age is 25. Alright, so we are pretty much done with our second screen. Now it's time to grab the argument in our third screen view model that we were passing through second screen. How can we do it? Well, you can do it that thing with the help of your navigation type. So what is navigation type and how do we use it? You can get those information from my previous video that I have created for the type safe navigation. Link is present in the description box. I'm gonna simply paste the navigation type that I have created on that video to pass parse level object from one screen to another screen. So go to your destination and in the bottom I'm gonna paste it. Okay, so this is a custom navigation type. Simply import everything up. Alright, so we are pretty much done. Now go to your third screen view model, and here I'm gonna inject two things. So first I'm gonna inject my navigator, next the save state handle. Now it's time to extract the employee argument. So for that, in its init block I'm gonna use my saved state handle to route. Now the route type is dest.thirdScreen. Let me import this dest first. Okay, now in this we have employee, but if you want to extract a parseable object, what you can do, you have to pass here the type map. So let's do that. Type map of, so my argument type is employee, so mention it. Now this will simply match with our custom navigation type. So type is again employee, and in this we have to pass our employee class, and next it's serializer, so employee dot serializer. Okay, so this will simply use to extract a parseable object as an argument that you have passed from second screen. Now on the top I'm going to create a state, and the state name is employee. Initialize this thing with mutable state flow, and initially I'm going to initialize this thing with employee object. Name is empty, age is 0. Okay, simply use your employee dot update, and in its update lambda use this thing. So this will not give us the employee object. If you want to grab this employee object, you're gonna use the member variable that you have created in destination dot third screen data class. So use here employee. Alright, so we are done. Now it's time to create one more function which actually used to perform pop back stack. So for that, use your navigator pop back stack. That's it. Alright, so now it's time to observe this employee mutable state flow in our third screen. So for that, first we have to pass view model, which is the third screen view model, and on the top I'm gonna create a state which is employee, and initialize this thing with our view model employee, collect this thing in a form of state. Now import this thing up, and it's time to use this employee. So in place of name, use your employee dot name. In place of age, you can use your employee age dot toString. Alright, so we are pretty much done. Now go back to your main activity. It's time to initialize our navhost controller that we were using in our implementation. So go to navigator. Here you can see it's time to initialize this thing. So for that, go to your main activity and just cut this thing out from here and paste on the top of our scaffold. Use here a disposable effect, and in place of its key simply use unit, or instead of use unit you can use navhost controller. It will make more sense. In this we have on dispose. So once everything got cleared, we'll use navigator dot clear method to free our navhost controller instance. Okay, so now it's time to initialize it. So use here a navigator set navhost controller and pass your navhost controller. This will did the job for you. We have a problem here, so remove this problem by using your modifier dot padding and pass your inner padding. Take the whole area. We are pretty much done now. Now it's time. Okay, so we have a few problems, and the problem is we haven't passed the second screen view model and the third screen view model. So let's do that. View model hilt view model. Similarly, for the third screen, in place of view model, use hilt view model. Alright, so we are done. Now it's time to initialize our dagger hilt. So for that, it's time to create a class naming base application. By the way, these things are very straightforward, but after the execution of this application, I'm gonna tell you a lot of things. So just be with me. Class, extend this thing with application and use here hilt Android app. Now simply register this thing in your manifest. We are pretty much done. One more thing, I forgot one thing in our nav host. So here if you want to take the employee parse label object as an argument in the third screen, you have to mention it. So in this you can mention the type map. So simply grab this type map from your third screen view model. So this one, copy this map, come back to your main activity and paste in here. Alright, so now I'm going to execute this thing. Okay, so our application is executing. Now when I click to this button, it will send an argument naming Himanshu to the second screen. Now when I click to this go to third screen, here you can see we are able to pass employee parse label object from second screen to third screen. I mean, logically everything works. Okay, but the problem is, if you want to write unit test cases for your view model, somehow it is not possible 100%, because in some of the edge cases you have to use this navigator. Now in this navigator implementation, we were using navhost controller, which is related to Android UI framework. According to the best practice, you can't use Android UI framework things in your view model. So if you are going to use this approach, well, you are not able to write unit test cases for your view model. Now it's time to see how we can fix this issue, how we can make this thing unit testable. So for that we are going to change few things. So let's do that. So first I'm gonna remove this clear and set navhost controller, and on the top I'm gonna create a variable, and the variable name is navigation events. Now type of this navigation event is mutable shared flow. So for this I'm gonna create a sealed class. Okay, and the sealed class name is navigation event. And in this I'm going to create a data object, and the data object name is pop back stack. Use here a navigation event. So basically I'm using only two different classes to handle two different scenario. First one is the pop back stack, and the next one is actually used to perform the navigation. So here we have navigate. You can simply pass your route in a form of not string any, and simply use a navigation event. Okay, so if you want to add few more functionality to your navigation event, you can do that thing very easily. Like if you want to use pop back stack inclusive or inclusive, you can simply pass that information in a form of variable to this. So it's very easy. Okay, so now it's time to use it. So here I'm gonna use a navigation event. Okay, so in its implementation I'm gonna remove everything and write new implementation. So just press Ctrl I and override everything. So first I'm going to create instance of our mutable shared flow. Now it's time to perform navigation. So in place of navigation, I'm using my navigation event try emit and pass my route. So here if you see we can't pass route, we have to wrap this thing with navigation event dot navigate, and in this we are able to pass route. Now if you want to perform pop back stack, you can use a navigation event try emit navigation event dot pop back stack. Okay, so this is the implementation for our navigator. Alright, so now it's time to use it. So for that, go to your main activity, and in this main activity, now remove this disposal effect. Instead of disposal effect, I'm gonna use here launch effect, and here we have our navigator. Now in this navigator we have navigator events. Collect it. So collect the latest emission. We will receive here our navigation event. So use here when, simply use your navigation event and accept the suggestion by pressing Alt Enter. So we have here two different branches, navigate and pop back stack. So what will happen if you want to perform navigation? You can simply use your navhost controller navigate and pass your destination. So destination is coming within our navigation event dot route. So this is for the first branch. Now for the pop back stack, it's very easy. You can use nav host controller instead of navigation event and perform pop back stack. Alright, so we are done with this approach. Now simply execute your application to check whether it is running or not properly. Okay, so when I click go to second screen, okay, nothing happens. So let's see what is the problem, and I think I got the problem, and the problem is here. Instead of using try emit, we'll use here emit. Similarly for this, now emit is a suspendable function, so we have to execute this piece of code within the coroutine. So for that, let's create one scope. With the help of coroutine scope, in this I'm gonna use the dispatcher.io. Launch a new coroutine, scope.launch, and put this piece of code in this block. Similarly for the popback stack, you can use scope.launch and put this piece of code here. Alright, so let's re-execute our application. Now click on this, go to second screen. Okay, so now we were standing in the second screen, and when I click to this go to third screen, we are able to navigate from second screen to third screen with argument, or you can say parse label argument employee. When I click to go to second screen, okay, so this is not working. Let's see why it is not working. So in the popback stack, we simply emit popback stack, and in our main activity, okay, so we are not using this navigate function which present in our third screen view model. So let's use it. Go to your third screen, and when user click onto this button, you can use your view model and perform the navigation, or you can say popback stack. Just re-execute our application. Now go to the second screen, go to third screen, and when I click to this button, yes, it is able to pop back the stack. So by using this approach, you can write your navigation within the view model that is unit testable very easily. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you like this video. It's a very small video, but at the same time, if you want to perform navigation within the view model and also want to write unit test cases for those view models, then this approach will work for you. I hope you like this video. Goodbye.